Hello, everyone. Welcome back to some more Terra Mystica of a sort. I think I told you guys when I did my 2 Terra Mystica episodes a little while ago that there was an online tournament that I wanted to sign up for, but that I didn't really see it as being very good YouTube content because it's like play by email, like 8 hours per turn kind of thing. Like, really, that's a simplification. It's a chess clock thing where you have an 8-hour grace period before your timer even starts counting. So, like, it's going to be kind of slow, is what I was thinking. So the tournament started a month ago, and I realized that maybe there is an okay way to do something with this, to share this experience with you YouTube viewers out there. And we're a month into the tournament, so halfway through the scheduled allotted time. You have 2 months to finish your 4 games. And 2 of my games have finished. The second one just finished this afternoon. The first one finished, I don't know, at least a week ago. There were much faster players in that game. And so there's still 2 not yet finished. And so I can't just show you everything that happened. What I thought I would do is kind of give you guys like a recap of the games. In a slightly interactive format. Let's say in a format that permits interaction if you want, but where if you like, you can just sort of like keep watching and you'll find out what happens. So my idea is that this first video, I'll show you guys all 4 of the games since they all start at the beginning at the same time. And we'll do the faction selection. I'll ask you guys to like look at what other people have chosen, what bonus tiles are available, what scoring tiles are available, and see what factions you would pick. And then at the end of this video, I'll talk about what I was thinking about and what factions I selected. That'll be all for this episode. And then in the next, and then there'll be 4 more episodes, one reviewing each of my 4 games, where we'll look at it kind of round by round over the 6 rounds, and you guys can kind of propose, if you want, in the comments, like roughly what you would try to do in that round. I like the idea of you guys talking in the comments about what you would have done, even though like by the time the video is over, I'll have revealed what I did and how it worked out. I think it would be kind of cool if you have any. I know we have some Terra Mystica players out there. But even if you're a beginner, like feel free to speculate. So I'll like I said, we'll talk about like faction selection options, and then I'll show you what actually happened. But if you want to, you can like kind of pause the video before I get to the reveal. I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys think, what your plan might be. But if you're not into that, you can just skip past the part where I say please pause the video. And see how things turned out. And then as I said, we'll do 4 more episodes. I can't say when they'll be released, but by the end of May, because that's when the tournament is over, I'll definitely have all 4 of them out, and 2 of them will be out pretty soon. So let's just talk briefly about the structure. The tournament is 4 games between 7 different players. So we're playing 4 different games. We're playing as player 1 once, player 2 once, player 3 once, player 4 once. And each game is for a 4-player game, and we're going to be in the same game as each of the other 6 players exactly twice. So one of the other players, for example, is named Stoichiometry. I know this name well because he's in the 2 games that have finished so far. And so I played 2 games against him, and my other 2 don't include him. So it's all set up to be pretty fair. And you get points. I mentioned this because this might somehow influence your thinking at some point during the series. Like, if you have to decide between settling for second or shooting for first but maybe hitting 4th, it's important to know the payout tables. So there are 7 games played within the league. Is that right? I think there are a total of 7 games. That would make sense. But you're only going to play 4. And so these are the payouts. Whoever can come first in the league will be promoted in the next season. And 2nd, 3rd, and 4th basically get nothing. If the tournament grows very large, then there might be a league below ours, in which case 6th and 7th will be demoted, so you might want to avoid that. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Just like try to do as well as you can in a single game. Okay, in each game, and like your scores add up. So let's look now at our first game. I hope you guys appreciate, by the way, all the trouble that I went to make this full board preview kind of tolerable. Normally, there's a bunch of junk in between, like the scoring tiles and the bonus tiles, showing like who the players are and stuff, which is all just noise. And so for this faction selection screen, I've manually in Chrome deleted the elements that would get in the way of fitting this all on one screen. And furthermore, this is the text size I normally browse at. You can't even see it all at once. So I hope you guys appreciate. I've decreased the text size to make it hard for me to read so that you guys can see everything all at once. And so you notice we have 4 tabs open. These are the 4 games. And I've got them ordered. So this is the game in which we're player 1. So you really have no information other than what's on the board. We have the temple scoring tile, followed by the town scoring tile, followed by a dwelling scoring tile with fire giving you power, then a sanctuary stronghold scoring tile, followed by fire giving you workers, then a trading post scoring tile with air giving you digs, and lastly a dwelling scoring tile, which I believe the bottom half of this is covered because there's no income in the last round, but I believe that's an earth tile, right? Maybe? No, that can't be. We've already got the earth. I don't know what the bottom half of this is. It doesn't matter. And in the bonus tile pool, we have the advance 1 step on a cult track and gain 4 coins. We have 1 worker, 3 power. We have sanctuary stronghold scoring with 2 workers. We have scoring for trading posts and 1 worker. We have +1 priest. We have scoring for dwellings with 2 coins. And we have scoring for shipping with 3 power. So, now's your chance, if you want, to pause the video, think about what factions you might want to choose here. You're first player, so you get your pick of all 14 of them. What would be the best choice here? Actually, I don't know. I told you to pause the video, but you don't have to because we're actually going to do faction selection for all 4, and then I'll come back to all 4 of them to talk about how things went in the game. Next up, game 2. This time we're player 2, and we have the scoring tile for digging in round 1 with 1 coin for each earth you have, followed by 2 rounds in a row of dwelling scoring with fire giving you power and water giving you priests, respectively. Then the town scoring tile with 4 earth giving you a dig. Then sanctuary scoring with fire giving you workers. And finally, sanctuary scoring again, with, of course, no income. The bonus tiles are a dig action with 2 coins, just the plain old 6 coins. The 3 power and 1 shipping bonus, 1 worker and 3 power, 1 priest, dwelling scoring with coins, or shipping scoring with power. And I say kind of with, like, just to remind you guys, like, really there's only 1 dwelling scoring tile, and it always has 2 coins on it. But it's sort of nice to just read the whole thing off in case you're not super paying attention. So again, if you want, now's a good time. Oh, I should tell you who what player 1 chose. In this game, player 1 chose. Well, actually, if you want, you can think about what you would choose as player 1. But we're going to talk about what we would choose as player 2. So player 1 chose Darklings. So you won't be able to choose any black factions. But all of the others are available to you here. So, moving on to game 3. We have town scoring in round 1. Quite unlikely, of course. Is this our first? We had another one with town scoring, right? No, not till round 2. Okay. Town scoring in round 1, pretty much impossible, but you still get 1 dig for each earth you have. Round 2, digs give you points and earth gives you coins. Round 3, temple scoring, which means, of course, that priests give you coins. Round 4, sanctuary stronghold scoring with air giving you workers. I feel like we saw sanctuary stronghold scoring in both other games, but both times the scoring, yeah, was fire gives you workers. This time, it's... Okay. In this game, both of them appeared, but the second one had its bottom half cut off. In this game, we have the air gives you workers instead of fire gives you workers. Round 5, dwelling scoring, and water gives you priests, and finally a round of trading post scoring. The available bonus tiles are a dig action and 2 coins, a cult action and 4 coins, 1 worker and 3 power, sanctuary stronghold scoring with 2 workers, trading post scoring with 1 worker, 1 priest, or dwelling scoring and 2 coins. So we're player 3 here. Again, if you want, you can talk about what you would prefer to pick as players 1 and 2. But the important thing is, what would you do as player 3 after players... I should tell you something interesting about this game, which is, in this game and in the 4th game, one of the players who signed up to the tournament never showed up. He dropped out before faction selection finished. So this is actually a 3-player game, not a 4-player game, because player 1 dropped out. So even though we're 3rd, we're going to be choosing the faction 2nd. And player 2, the only other player to choose before us, chose alchemists. So once again, you will not be able to choose the black factions, but you can choose anything else you like. And I guess I should mention, like, of course, if you're not a Terra Mystica, like, fanatic, you might not know what all the factions are, what they can do, etc., etc. I suggest you go find this on, like, Board Game Geek or whatever. There's a million places you can look up Terra Mystica factions to help you decide what to do here. So again, here we are, player 2 in a 3-player game, and we can't choose the black factions because alchemists have been chosen. So feel free to write in the comments what you would do here. Finally, game 4. This is the second of the 2 games in which our last player dropped out. But I don't remember whether players 1 and 2 knew that yet, because in this game, that player was player 3. So I don't remember. Maybe they chose thinking it would be a 4-player game, and maybe they chose knowing it would be a 3-player game. Not sure. At any rate, the scoring tiles available are digs give you points, earth gives you coins, sanctuary stronghold gives you points, fire gives you workers, temple scoring again with priests giving you coins, sanctuary stronghold with air giving you workers, dwelling scoring with fire giving you power, and finally a round of trading post scoring. The bonus tiles available are dig giving you 2 coins, cult action giving you 4 coins, 6 coins, 3 power and 1 shipping bonus, 1 worker and 3 power, trading post scoring and 1 worker, or 1 priest. So now is kind of your last chance to pause the video before I start talking about what actually... Oh no, that's not true. Don't pause the video. I haven't told you what players 1 and 2 did. Player 1 chose... Well, do pause the video if you want to talk about what you think players 1 and 2 should pick. But if you just want to focus on what we should do as player 3, then I will now tell you. Player 1 chose Swarmlings, so we have no blue factions available. And player 2 chose Cultists, so we have no brown factions available. Alright, so now if you want to make a choice for us as player 3, this is a good time to pause the video before I start revealing the results. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. Because, sorry if you went and like paused the video and thought for an hour. Because it's also really important when you're choosing a faction to think about what bonus tiles you want in turn 1. So in this game, we're player 4. We're going to get our choice of any bonus tile we want when we choose a faction, right? Because the last player to choose a faction is the first player to choose a bonus tile. Whereas here, we're player 3. We get the last choice of faction tiles, because remember, player 1 dropped out, so player 3 is the last player. Here, we're player 2. We get second last. Sorry. We're not last place. Player 1 dropped out of game 3, right? Right. So we're second to choose a bonus tile. Here, we're third to choose a bonus tile, and here we are fourth to choose a bonus tile. So, it is a pretty important part of your decision what bonus tile you think you can get when you're choosing a faction. So I think that if you're going to say something in the comments, and again, I apologize if you already did because I told you to pause the video before I remembered to ask about bonus tiles. Feel free to edit your comment. I think it's important to think about both of those things kind of at the same time. Especially in a game where you're choosing bonus tile last. You actually get to make both choices at the same time. No! God, I'm still not super, an expert in Terra Mystica. You choose factions, then you place dwellings, then you choose bonus tiles. And so, in principle, your choice of bonus tile might be affected by what starting dwellings you got to place. But I think it's still important to have some idea of what bonus tiles you want when choosing a faction, even though the dwellings aren't down yet. Okay, so now for real, if you want to pause the video, go make a comment about what factions you would choose. Now is a good time. All right, so let's look now at what actually happened in Game 1. First, I'll talk about the factors that went into my choosing a faction. And then I will show you the position at the end of the setup phase, once everyone has placed all their dwellings and gotten their bonus tiles. In Game 1, the thing that really leaps out to me, well, it's a big consideration. Maybe not the biggest, but I looked at how many coins are available this game. Right? What bonus tiles are missing? We're missing 6 coins. We're missing 3 power and 1 shipping. And we're missing 2 coins and 1 dig. So, of the most bonus actions that can be available, the most coins that can be available through bonus actions is 14. You usually expect to lose 1 of those bonus tiles, maybe 2, because there are 3 you aren't going to play with. But in this game, we're missing 2 of them. We're missing 8 of the 14 available coins in bonus tiles. So that's a reason to kind of look at factions that do well with a small number of coins. For example, alchemists kind of like a small number of coins because they can make coins whenever they want. Engineers do well with coins because all of their structures cost fewer coins. Some other structures that do well with a small number of coins, I'm not those are the 2 that I mostly think of. But anyone who generates a lot of power tends to do pretty well with a small number of coins, because they have easier access to the 7 coin action. At any rate, I think this is true. I'm not sure if it's really true. But so, for example, I don't even know who generates a lot of power. The mermaids start with extra, for example. They're one of the factions that starts with 9 power and bowl 3, so they kind of are plausible. Cultists and chaos magicians kind of tend to get some power because they're moving up the cult track more quickly than everyone else. And you get to pass these power bars. It's not a lot, but it's something. But this game really screams engineers to me. For first, the reason that all the coins are gone, and as the engineers, we can make the most use out of the small number of coins we're going to get. But also for another reason, maybe this is just short-sighted of me, but I see this round 1 temple scoring, and it's okay, most factions like to start with a temple on round 1. That's a reasonable option for most factions. But for engineers, it's actually often useful to start with 2 temples in round 1. They're the only ones who can realistically do that. both because temples are cheaper for them, and because their second temple, instead of giving you a second priest, which is sort of overkill this early in the game, gives you 5 power. It's a really useful building to have so early, whereas no other faction is going to want 2 temples that early. You know, Chaos Magicians would like them, I suppose, but they're probably more interested in getting a sanctuary early. So we'll really be able to make use of this double temple scoring, or this temple scoring, by taking it twice. You get like an 8-point head start just for being engineers. And furthermore, like, okay, engineers start with no points in the cult tracks, but if you build 2 temples and get the cult scoring action, unlikely as that seems, a bonus tile, I should say, you could have, well, and within the first 2 rounds, let's say, you get you get this even once. You could build like Earth 1 for dwelling scoring and Earth 2 for extra workers as your 2 favor tiles for your early temples. That's 3 Earth, and it's not that hard to get a 4th with either this bonus tile or by taking a priest action or something. So you can get a nice boost of an early dig as well. You know, the town scoring tile is not that easy to get for any faction, but the temple scoring and this dig seem pretty nice to me. And the extra power. So anyway, I went with the engineers here. My dream was to get this cult scoring tile, bonus tile, because coins are so important in this game, and because I want it to get me up to 4 Earth at some point in the first 2 rounds. If you wanted to, you could try to get to 8 Earth. It sounds crazy, but like if you could get the first priest into Earth with, say, a priest power action on turn 1, that's 3. 3 more from your temples, and then 2 more from a priest. You could maybe actually get 2 digs from this cult income in round 2. So there's a couple of options for how much Earth you want, but I think you should be able to manage at least 4, which is more than a lot of factions can say. Even though we start with 0. And then, like, all this later stuff, I don't know. There's nothing super compelling here. We should be able to adapt any faction to deal with these these scoring tiles. But for the early stuff, and especially the bonus tiles, the engineers seemed very suitable, so I picked them. I think alchemists might have been reasonable, but I had first pick, and engineers are generally strong, and they seem particularly good here, so it was an easy choice for me. I was very glad to be player 1, because I thought engineers were so much better than anything else that everyone should pick engineers. And I was going to get it first. All right, here we are in game 2. Well, I'm going to now reveal what happened. I'm giving myself some time because I'm trying to remember what the heck happened here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to reveal what happened here, what I was thinking, and how I ended up choosing my faction. This one... Look first at the bonus tiles. What's missing? We're missing 4 coins and 1 cult. We're missing 3 power and 1 shipping. And we're missing Sanctuary Stronghold scoring with 2 workers. So we have a fair number of coins. 10 of the available 14 are here. And we're missing Sanctuary scoring, but we kind of have like... Oh no, did I say we're missing power and shipping? We have all the power tiles. We're missing Sanctuary scoring and Trading Post scoring, which comes with 1 worker. And we're also missing the coins and cults, right? So a lot of the scoring tiles are missing, which means this might be a kind of low scoring game. On the other hand, there's like a late town scoring and late like stronghold scoring, which is often kind of nice because most strongholds are not that amazing to build early, but if you can build them late, maybe you can get something out of them along with cashing in on some points, and you can usually afford to this late if you want. And like I said, a moderate number of coins. Like, not all of them, but a lot. But we're actually quite short on worker income, right? The only worker income we have is this. We're missing the 1 worker from trading posts and the 2 workers from Stronghold scoring. So this seems like a board to me for a faction that is good at producing workers, but bad at producing coins. And maybe bad at producing power as well. Since we do have all the power here. And so what that sort of sounded like to me was nomads. Or witches. Those are kind of famously good at producing workers. They have stronghold abilities that are well suited to making workers. And in particular to making dwellings, right? The nomads get Sandstorm to once a turn terraform anything adjacent to them to yellow for free. And the witches get Witch's Ride to once a turn place a dwelling for free on any green tile anywhere. So those kind of produce workers. And so those were kind of the 2 I was focused on. And I think that nomads are best. So I had actually just been reading some forum posts when I came across this game from early on in the game's release history, like in the first year it was out or something. And some strong players who I recognize now, like they've continued to be influential in the Terra community, and they were like talking about this 7 years ago, were like, Nomad's Stronghold ability is like not actually as great as it looks. A lot of beginners, like me, often rush for the Nomad Stronghold ability because it seems so insane to just, like, no matter what color something is, make it yellow. But you give up a lot for that, right? You give up the income of either a worker or of dwelling or a trading post, and you have to invest a bunch in getting this ability up early. And so actually, this post argued, nomads should typically just consider the third dwelling they get turn 1 as their real faction power, not Stronghold ability as their faction power. It just generates some extra workers for you over the course of the game. And to do your digging, you should just advance dig. You should upgrade your digging. And I had been thinking of that when I saw this game, and I said, oh, that seems quite suitable here, doesn't it? I was actually quite pleased that player 1 chose Darklings, because I thought Nomads were perfectly suited here, and I didn't really see what the point of the Nomads was. The Darklings. Looking back at it again, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, like you get to cash in a little bit on the spade scoring round 1 because you get the free priest. You start with a priest to do some digging. And I believe Darklings start with a little bit of earth. They're like earth water or something in the cult tracks. And as long as they can build a temple turn 1, Darklings shouldn't have any trouble cashing in at least a little bit on the dwelling scoring in rounds 2 and 3. And then the town scoring in round 4, pretty much anyone can cash in on a bit. So I think the Darklings were actually a quite reasonable choice with the priests available here. But at the time, I was very glad that they didn't choose Nomads, because I thought Nomads were obviously right here. And so that's what I picked. Notice, furthermore, there is dwelling scoring. So there's a dwelling scoring tiles twice. The dwellings bonus tile here. It seems very important to build dwellings, and Nomads get 1 for free. So that was my plan. And, I forget. What bonus tiles did I take turn 1? What did I want? I think I wanted bonus 1 and 3 the most, right? Coins and digs? But I think that +1 priest is also pretty reasonable for 2 reasons. First of all, the Darklings absolutely want it. With the spade scoring and the fact that they use priests to dig. And we're sitting right before them in terms of bonus tile selection, so it would be nice to kind of steal it away from them. Darklings being regarded as generally strong, it's not totally insane to spite them if what you're getting is useful for you. And with Earth Cult scoring early, and then again later for spades, or Earth Cult income, I should say, an early priest devoted to the Earth Cult seems like a good idea to me. The nomads start with earth and fire, so this would get us up to 4 if we could do it early enough. And then we would have the plan to kind of like build a temple, upgrade digging a bit in round 2, and then in round 3, get digging all the way down to its minimum cost and try to build a bunch of dwellings. So kind of like accumulate coins and workers through the first couple rounds and try to cash it all in round 3 was my general idea. So for that reason, the priest scoring tile seemed useful. In addition to these two. I genuinely don't remember what order my preferences were for them, but those are kind of the 3 I was looking at. And since I get to pick 3rd, I'm kind of guaranteed one of them. All right, let's move on to game 3. Now remember, in this game, player 1 dropped out. Player 2 chose alchemists, and we're player 3. What do we pick? Once again, we have the town... No, it's not once again. Well, we have the town scoring tile very early, right? Which happened also in game 1. There are a few factions who can build a town in round 2. Like, the nomads can sometimes do it if you go for, like, the Stronghold opening. It's not that hard to get a town out in round 2. But here, town scoring, you know, not that relevant, right? Nobody's going to score a town. But notice there are 2 earth scoring rounds in a row, and so I was kind of thinking, what factions start with some earth to take advantage of this stuff? And the one that most obviously comes to mind is the Dwarves. They start with 2 earth. So if you could find any way to get 2 more earth in round 1, you'd be off to a pretty great start, right? And then maybe some more in round 2, perhaps. Are the Dwarves reasonable in terms of the other scoring tiles and the bonus tiles available, though? You can't just pick something because they look good in rounds 1 and 2. I think they're pretty okay. The Dwarves kind of their faction ability is that they can tunnel, which lets them make use out of workers to gain them both mobility and gain extra victory points. When you tunnel, you skip a tile when building or digging, and this costs you 2 workers, or only 1 worker if you own a stronghold, and it gives you 4 points. So the Dwarves really like to have workers, because their workers can, in general, like... Okay, you can't turn every worker into 4 points because you have to do something else while you tunnel. But if you can tunnel, and you've got a stronghold, you can turn a worker into 4 points, which is like nuts, right? And in this game, there is a kind of late-ish Sanctuary Stronghold scoring tile, which is about the time you might want to build it as Dwarves. Like, not super early, you're not thrilled to start tunneling. There's other better stuff to do. But it's a way to start scoring in the late game. So the Dwarves don't seem crazy in terms of that. And furthermore, all of the worker bonus tiles are available. The scoring tiles available include all of the structure types, but not the shipping type. Kind of nice, since Dwarves don't have any shipping. And they kind of tend to spread across the board a bit with their tunneling, and these kind of conveniently located gray tiles tunneling distance away from each other. So, I thought, you know what? I totally could play Dwarves here. The number of coins available is like a little bit low. But, you know, which is a problem because Dwarves want to build a lot of dwellings. But the dwarves have, some abilities to compensate for that. Like their first trading post and their fourth trading post generate more coins than the standard trading posts. So you can use those to build more dwellings. And another factor encouraging me to choose the dwarves is that the alchemists have already been chosen. The black factions really love to work over here, where black loves blue and brown, right? And they've got this perfect ready-made area for them out here. And they tend to be very good partners with the gray factions, who don't mind taking like these 2 tiles, for example, or at least one of them. So I felt pretty confident that if I chose a gray faction, I would have a good trading partner to help me build trading posts and leech power. The same would be true if I chose engineers, but the engineers don't really stand out as much here because there's more coins available than in game 1. And the bonus tiles, the scoring tiles, I should say, are not quite as favorable for them either. Maybe they would be fine, but in game 1 they really stood out. And here, I think that the dwarves are a better idea. So you might plan, turn 1, you build like a temple to get you the Earth 1 tile. Where is that? Here, right. Most factions, it's reasonable to open with Earth 1 in round 1. It's not like the only reasonable thing to do, but for most factions, it's fairly reasonable. And here, combined with the dwarves, it would get me up to 3 Earth already, and I could just try to get either a cult action or a priest or something to get me more Earth, so I could cash in on this spade and grab coins next turn. And then the turn after that, you get coin income as well, right? So one of the things that often happens in Terra Mystica, it seems to me, is in round 1, you have like a ton of coins, right? So you start with a ton of coins and a ton of workers. Round 2, you're kind of a little bit starved, right? You haven't been able to build up enough economy to do anything like as much as you did in round 1. And so you're sort of sometimes pressured to start building trading posts to generate long-term income, even though their trading posts are kind of a meh building in general. But here, with the cult income in rounds 2 and 3, both generating coins for like investing in Earth, it seemed to me that I could go a very long time without having to build any coin income and just focus on worker income. Then in the late game, try to cash in on those workers by tunneling with them. So that was kind of my plan, and so I would be interested in either the priest worker tile bonus tile or the cult income bonus tile. I think it wouldn't be crazy to take the spade bonus tile, because getting more dwellings down early is great. I think taking any one of those 3 would be pretty reasonable. I genuinely don't remember what I actually did in round 1. We'll see that soon enough. But those are the 3 I'm looking at. All right, finally, game 4. Remember in this one that player 1 has chosen the Swarmlings, that's blue, and player 2 has chosen the Cultists, and then player 3 has left the game. So there's just the 3 of us. This one, I think, was the hardest one for me to decide on a faction. I mean, I don't know. Game 3 was kind of tough as well because I really don't have a lot of experience with dwarves, but they seemed reasonably fitting, so I was okay choosing them. Here, what exactly do you do? Like, I remember what I ended up picking, but I'm kind of like, why did I pick it? What's the plan? So let's try to what's the word, like when you try to like I guess reconstruct, but I was thinking of something a little more with a little more imagery, a little more poetic. Rehydrate, kind of like reconstitute. I don't know what my decision making might have been. We see coins for Earth in round 1. That's kind of cool. And digs. Sure. General advice in Terra Mystica is like, don't worry about the scoring bonuses in rounds 1 or 2 and maybe 3. Kind of focus more on getting your engine going, which may include focusing on the cult income if that's a thing you can aim towards, or may just be like, try to build some dwellings, right? Those generate income in the long term. And then like in kind of the later half of the game, you can start focusing more on the scoring. But like it's kind of like, okay, a spade, sure. And Sanctuary Stronghold in round 2. So this is one reason actually that I kind of like I looked at the other players and I was like, really? Swarmlings don't seem very good here to me. They have an extremely strong stronghold power, which is to just upgrade a dwelling to a trading post for free. And for that reason, Swarmlings pretty much always want a stronghold on turn 1. It's just like, you cannot skip that. I mean, you can. If there's some really compelling reason, you could put it off to like turn 2 or something. But in general, you would much prefer to have it on turn 1. And I don't really see anything else good about Swarmlings here. You know, all of their buildings cost more workers and more coins. And so, okay, there's a lot of coin bonuses here. And we're missing, like, the Sanctuary scoring. Bonus tile, I should say. So, I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Since the Swarmlings pretty much always have a stronghold on the table, they love the existence of the Sanctuary Stronghold bonus tile, but it's not here. So, I don't like the Swarmlings very much here. I don't think player 1 should have picked them. Player 2 choosing cultists? I don't know. I don't know much about cultists. Could be fine. They'll be fighting Swarmlings will often start like here for the easy town this way, and like here, or I think here's another kind of okay Swarmling spot. This is not the worst, but not great. This would probably be better. And so like all of those are kind of near brown, and I think that's an okay reason to choose the cultists. Cultists really, really love to have neighbors. And so maybe just saying, all right, I know that I'll have blue neighbors if I build here and here or something like that. It's kind of reasonable. And I just generally don't know when cultists are good. So maybe they're good here. Who knows? Anyway, my thinking was to get a kind of engine going here that generates enough priests to let me kind of cash in on this thing, and hopefully some earth favor in turn 1. Chaos Magicians are scary to pick, especially in a 3-player game, because you place your dwelling last, and you really need a neighbor to build a trading post early. I mean, okay, you could pay the 3 extra coins, but that's a big ask, right? So I was thinking, like, you know, am I gonna have... I like the idea of the Chaos Magicians, simply because, like, a round 2 Sanctuary is a thing they often like to do. Round 1 Sanctuary can be okay, it's fine. But typically you would want to do that only if there's a scoring tile for it. Otherwise you want to get some dwellings out. And there's a slight shortage of worker income in the bonus tiles. So I thought, hey, maybe round 1, the 2 favor tiles I can take are Earth 1 and Earth 2. Give myself some worker income from the Earth and some coin income from the cult, right? Then we build the Sanctuary in round 2, and consider grabbing like Fire 1 is the one that gives you the coins, right? Yeah. And like maybe, I don't know, water 1 for the trading post scoring. And then you've got like a fair number of priests invested. You can get coins here. you know, at that point, you kind of have things going well enough. The main concern is just like, are you going to have a neighbor? And I kind of was looking at like, where does red kind of like to place? Along this kind of river is really important. Red has a lot of places available with shipping 1, right? Here to here, you know, here to here. Almost no other factions. I think green is the only one. Gray can get from one of their color to another one of their color with just a single shipping. And they also have a lot of yellow and gray on that same river to help red expand in the right direction. So I kind of looked at this and was like, I would not be too surprised. Like, I would be perfectly happy to start here. And I wouldn't be too surprised if the cultists anticipated that and tried to draw me in by building a dwelling here. Remember, Chaos Magicians placed their one dwelling last after everyone has placed both of their dwellings. So they would have to, like, kind of gamble on me placing here. But they know I want a neighbor. They've got a pretty reasonable town here. I've got a reasonable town here, possibly bridging to here if necessary. But probably not, because, like, I don't mind building a sanctuary, so these 3 would be fine. So I chose Chaos Magicians with the idea to get some Earth and Fire favor tiles early. And, of course, some priest income for this. And hoping that the cultists would place here, inviting me to be friends with them. So the cultists have 2 kind of, you know, swarmlings almost certainly start here. Cultists, therefore, are happy to go here. And by the time the cultists place their second dwelling, all they have to go on is this D2 square. Only one other dwelling has been placed, and they have to place both of theirs. It seemed quite reasonable to me that they would choose this to be neighbors with me, because the swarmlings don't even really want a neighbor on their second town. They're just going to drop trading posts in from the Stronghold. So if the cultists tried something like this, the swarmlings would reject them and build here, is my thinking. So the cultists kind of want me as their second neighbor, and the obvious place for them to court me is here. So I thought, sure. I think I can go red. I think the cultists will follow. And what favor tiles are good turn 1? Sorry, what bonus tiles are good turn 1? The cult action is pretty good because it gets us up to like more earth or possibly more fire, depending on what we need. And also coins are precious. You know, digging is also fine. But we're player 3, we're last, so I think we should really pick something. I genuinely don't remember what I picked. It was probably the spade, if I had to guess. Let me go check. Yeah, I did pick the spade, actually. But I think cult would not be totally crazy. It's just like you really want at least one dwelling down in turn 1, and the spade makes that super easy, even if you can't get the power action. Okay, so that was kind of like what I was thinking before any other players did anything turn 1. I can't believe we spent 48 minutes and you haven't seen any boards. But can I just... Can I... Ugh, all right. I wanted to show you the actual outcomes. And I was hoping I could just drag the tabs I have open all into the current tab easily, but that I can't figure out how to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is just switch which window we're looking at. Did I get that right? Yeah, now you guys can see what happened in all these games. So in game 1, where we chose engineers, player 2 chose Chaos Magicians, player 3 chose Darklings, and player 4 chose Cultists. I imagine I placed my first dwelling here. Actually, we can probably see, right? E7, yeah. Actually, I placed here first. Interesting. I think I sort of took it for granted that black would place at least one dwelling in this area, so I could have E6, F6 for free. Like I was guaranteed to have neighbors at F6. E7, I wanted to court a neighbor. either the cultists here or the Chaos Magicians here. But the Chaos Magicians really don't like this spot if I'm in the way. Like, they want to get to here and then start going across the river. So it's really the cultists I'm courting here, and I hoped to get them. Chaos Magicians, right, didn't build anything just yet. Darklings, of course, built over in the Eastern Continent, and then the cultists followed up with E6, as I hoped. Followed by their other building, right, A7. I'm not sure exactly what they were hoping for here. I guess they figured... Yeah, I don't know. Where else would you go needing to court either gray, black, or red, and you're the cultists? Well, red might go over here, but you've already got that covered. You could try this just to fuck with the engineers, right? Try to build this way for a town? Or maybe this way? Yeah. So I'm not sure how the cultists were hoping to get neighbors here. I don't totally see why the Chaos Magicians built here. So I wouldn't really have expected that to happen if I were the cultists. Neither of these locations looks that appealing to me. Maybe A6 is where the cultists thought the Chaos Magicians would go, building down to here with some shipping. And then, like, over to here and here and here and here. If you can get to 2 shipping, like, the Chaos Magicians are off and running. And this might be an okay place to start. I don't know. Anyway, then the Alchemists built their second thing over here, and I obliged them by taking F6. So, that's the setup going into round 1. This is actually the game that finished first, so it'll be the next one in the series. So, all 4 of these games, you know, I encourage you, especially if you said whether or not you said something in the first half about which faction you would choose, I encourage you to kind of talk about what you would try to do in turn 1, given the setup, right? We actually got the cult action with coins on it. Like, I can't believe that happened. That's unbelievable to me. It's the best bonus tile, and they just gave it to me as player 1. Cultists took the priest action, which, like, okay, sure. Investing into Earth early is pretty cool, and you want to stop the Darklings from getting it. That makes some sense to me. The Darklings took Stronghold scoring and workers, which I don't get at all. Oh, no, this wasn't the first game to finish. This is the second game to finish. I take that back. And the Chaos Magicians took workers and power, which, like, I don't know. Sure. I guess. I would want coins looking at these bonus tiles. I would try to get all the coins I can as fast as possible, because they're just going to be so hard to come by. But they gave it to me. So we have 14 coins and 4 workers, and 9 power in bowl 2. What are you going to try to do in round 1? I kind of already spoiled it when I said that I would try to build 2 temples. But if you have a better idea or more details about how to do it, feel free to say something. I'm realizing now, like, given how long this is all taking, I maybe should have split this, like, into 2 videos. 1, just what do you do, what faction you choose, and then 2, here's what happened. But, oh well. We're here. We're going to stick it out. So, player 1, as you know, chose Darklings. I chose Nomads. Player 3 chose Mermaids. And player 4 chose Engineers. I'm not a huge fan of Engineers here, just because there are so many coins available. And that's kind of what Engineers are good at, is coping with few coins. But they're generally a good faction, so sure, why not? And I kind of think that the Mermaids had the right idea, and that I would have done better to choose Mermaids instead of Nomads. With the shipping bonus tile and the shipping scoring bonus tile in the game, and dwelling scoring in rounds 2 and 3, I think the Mermaids are very well placed to capitalize, right? As long as they can just dig C1 and get a second dwelling, a second shipping in there somehow, maybe even just by taking the shipping bonus tile, they can get an absolute truckload of dwellings down in the first few rounds, which does a great job of building their engine and gets them a bunch of points for the dwelling scoring. They can even probably capitalize on the water cult income. Right, they can build here, and then here, here, here. If they get to 3 shipping, or if they started in this area, they can go here and here. I don't totally understand why they put their dwelling here. I don't see any good neighbors for that at all. Like, you can build here and here, and then connect up with your main area that way. I would have preferred something like this, which is easier to connect up, and I guess they don't know yet that they'll have the Darklings for a neighbor, right? The Darklings built G5 first, and only later built H5, so the mermaids had to place their second dwelling not knowing about that. But I don't know... Maybe they just did this because they really wanted a neighbor, and the engineers had placed their dwellings already. I'm not sure. You could place here to have a real fight on your hands, but there's like they don't like brown at all. I mean, it's 2 away. So I placed in kind of the standard nomad opening configuration. These are 3 very good tiles for the nomads, especially if you can get a blue faction as neighbor. You've got a nice town here. This is not perfect, but it's fine. These are great. This is great. And I hoped to make it to 3 towns this game. You can connect them up with shipping here and have a pretty sizable network. And as I said, I plan to like advance digging quite a bit to let me grab all that territory. And furthermore, nomads start with earth and fire as their cult bonuses, so that's kind of another point in their favor. But like I said, I think mermaids maybe had a better idea. The engineers took a worker and power as their bonus tile. I don't totally understand why, but I bet we'll find out in round 1. The mermaids took the shipping bonus tile in round 1, which I don't know. I feel like, wouldn't you rather put that off till round 2 or 3 when you can cash in on dwelling scoring as well? Right? Maybe they're afraid they'll never get it. But yeah, if I were the mermaids, I would have loved to get to take the spade bonus action to dig this out in round 1 cheaply and be poised for round 2, spreading across the board like wildfire. But at any rate, this left me with the spade scoring tile, and I grabbed some coins. Why not? With the plan to start establishing some dwellings. I don't remember the details. And the Darklings took the priest action, which of course is great for them. God, is this only game 2? It is. All right. So if you want to, of course, feel free to say what you would try to do in round 1 of this second game. Here we are in game 3, the game in which I chose Dwarves. Player 3 after me chose Chaos Magicians. So, have we seen factions like this before? Yeah, it's pretty. We have gray, red, and black again. Same as game 1, but we don't have a 4th color this time. And as predicted, I got the Darklings, or the Alchemists, I should say, as a neighbor here. What order did this all happen in? Alchemists went first and built G5. Sure. I gladly placed it F6. And then I had to place another one, and I tried... My thinking was, I want the Chaos Magicians as a neighbor. So where are the Chaos Magicians going to want to go? And it seems to me they don't want to go anywhere. They hate everything. Which is one reason I don't really like the idea of choosing the Chaos Magicians in this setup. I said the Alchemists are not going to place next to anything red. At all. Right? They might very well place here, or maybe they'll go here. Maybe here. These are kind of their favorite starting locations. And so the Chaos Magicians are going to be pretty scared. They're not going to have any neighbors. And so E7 is a pretty fine spot for the Dwarves anyway. If I don't get any neighbors, whatever, I'll just try to make this into a town. I like red and green. If I do get the Cultists as a neighbor, or the Chaos Magicians as a neighbor, it's not a big imposition. I can build down this way, maybe town up over here, maybe Sanctuary, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe town up here. And it gets me access to like this area for more tunneling points. So I was happy to build E7 as my second town, offering the Chaos Magicians, hey, do you want a neighbor at all? If so, you better pick D4, even though it's not the best starting location for you. It's really tough for them to form a town here. They can like bridge twice to here, but nobody wants to do that. On the other hand, you know, the Chaos Magicians are kind of building up in the first early rounds. They want to get their Sanctuary right away. And so they might not care that much about no available land. They might be willing to go on D4. So I placed D7. If I get the Chaos Magicians, fine. If I don't, fine. And as it happened, they did follow me. In terms of bonuses, the Chaos Magicians somewhat predictably took the Sanctuary scoring tile. This tells me that they're almost certainly building their Sanctuary turn 1. This gets them the extra workers they need for it, because it takes like 8 workers and you only start with 6. Actually, did the Chaos Magicians start with 5? No, they start with 6. Yeah. That's right. They start with 1 fewer dwelling and 1 more worker, so it cancels out. So this bonus tile helps them build their Sanctuary turn 1 and gives them points for doing it. So it seems like the kind of thing they're likely to do. I went, therefore, with the cult scoring action, which was kind of the one I wanted most, remember. In the first round, I wanted either a cult scoring or to somehow, cult bonus, or to somehow get a priest, so that I could get to 4 earth and then later more. And so I just grabbed this. Remember, we're also like not super light on coins, but we're a little bit light. We're missing the 6. A big chunk is gone out of the available 14. So grabbing 4 is pretty nice. And the Alchemists grabbed a worker and some power. Sure. I don't know exactly what they're planning, but seems fine. Does it seem fine? I might go for the dig, actually. I'm not sure what they're planning to do with the worker and power. I mean, I've seen turn 1 of this game. I just don't remember. And looking at it, nothing obvious jumps out at me. So that's the plan here. And again, if you want to say what you would do in round 1, what you would try to do, feel free to leave a comment. Finally, in game 4, we picked the Chaos Magicians, recall. And so we got to see all of the blue and brown dwellings placed before placing our own. And the cultists did kind of as I predicted that they would. The swarmlings placed here, and then the cultists had to choose. And they said, well, I want a neighbor, so this, pretty sensible for them. A good space for cultists, roughly. Is it actually? They like this. But they don't like red very much. I guess it's only 2 away, right? Yeah, it's 2 away. It's not that bad. And then they get to some yellow and some black, which are each 1 away, so it's like fine. They're not likely to get the black, because the swarmlings will take it. But they have at least these 3. And they can ship to here and connect up to their other town. It seems fine. And they really, really, really want a neighbor. So they can't risk going somewhere where there is no neighbor. So it's fine. They picked this, a kind of mediocre location, to ensure they would have a neighbor. And then they offered me this space, which is like an appealing place for me to start anyway. And then they said, "Hey, do you want a neighbor?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I want a neighbor." So they can almost be certain that I'll place here if they go here. So this is clearly a good place for them to go. Maybe they could try this. That would be a pretty greedy line, right? A7 and try to tempt me into A6 and then building this way. Ugh, I don't know. I don't think I would go for it. I like having a neighbor, but that's a worse starting location. And furthermore, cultists are kind of the worst neighbor because you're like helping them every time you take power from them. So I might choose to just like punish the cultists for their greed by going here anyway. And bonus tiles, I grabbed the dig action as I planned. Cultists chose 1 worker, 3 power, and the Swarmlings chose a priest. So, what would you try to get done in turn 1, is my question to you. And that's kind of it for this first round of like faction setup for the tournament and kind of exploring the overall game plan. In the next episode, we're going to look at the conclusion of this game. I'll kind of walk you through what happened in each round. I still don't have the format idea settled completely, but that's sort of the... No, this is not the game that went first. I keep forgetting. It's the game in which I was player 1. This is the game that finished first. So, the Chaos Magicians game. So you'll actually get to see how that went. And I'll try to, during that video and each of the game summary videos, to like pause before each round and say, like, what would you try to do now? And then I'll cover what actually happened. I don't have the format exactly settled because, like, this website doesn't make it easy to step from, like, my turn to the next turn of mine. It's a little bit awkward. You can do it. I might just do, like, a whole round summary. Probably, because a lot happens every turn, and I don't want to, like, talk through all the planning every turn. I'll just kind of talk about my overall idea for the round. So after this game, we'll have the Engineers game. And at the time of this recording, neither of the Nomad game or the Dwarves game has finished. It's looking like the Dwarves game will finish sooner. We're in round 5, I think. Let me, in another window, just double check that. Nope, both of those games are in round 4. But in the Dwarves game, all but one of the players have already passed round 4, so we're just waiting for one more action before the last guy finishes. Whereas the Nomads game is kind of in round 4, and everyone is still doing stuff. So I don't know exactly when those will come out. Sometime before the end of May. You have that to look forward to. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and please, again, feel free to participate in the comments. I thought this would be a fun little format for you guys to try out with, and it'll be interesting to read your input. Whether you're a beginner and I can just sort of see how you're thinking, or whether you're a stronger player and you can kind of help me understand the game better. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.